you're yet to even fully understand yourself. So how can other people fully understand you? Especially given that you know yourself the most. You know yourself more than anybody knows you. And I can't even control what I'm thinking. What makes me confident enough to think that I can control what other people are thinking, what's going on in other people's heads? It's okay to want to be understood, but you can't paint a picture to someone when they're colorblind. Bonjour, ma famille. Good morning, good afternoon, evening, wherever you are. It's 3 p.m. here, and today I just wanted to speak about being misunderstood, how agonizing it is to be misunderstood, and how somewhat on the flip side, it actually can be quite liberating being misunderstood. So let's just jump right in. So as human beings, whenever we're understood, we feel happy, we feel grateful. It feels like people are finally seeing us for who we truly believe we are. It feels like we don't have to perform for people to see us in a certain way. It feels like we can just be who we are, and then people will get it. We don't have to reframe a narrative. We don't have to correct a narrative. They're seeing us clear as day, and I think it's lovely being understood. I love being why am I tempted to say misunderstood? Sorry. I love being understood. Everyone loves being understood. It's very validating, to be honest. It's very nice. But it's kind of funny how the moment that we are understood by just even one person, or in any case sometimes it could be the people that we're much closer to, so it stings a bit more, but somehow we treat it as a final verdict against our character the moment someone just doesn't get our point of view, whether it's with regards to who we truly are, our character, or whether it's regards to a situation that happened that then led them to make an assessment on our character. Because surely if someone saw things the way they saw things, or interpreted things the way they interpreted things, there must be some truth to it, right? We end up thinking they could be right. Did I do this wrong? We end up kind of ascribing blame to ourselves, even in situations where that's absolutely not necessary. And on the flip side, it might be the case that you just feel uncomfortable with the idea that someone doesn't have the correct narrative about you, right? And I think it's like a weird control kink we have, like as human beings, because God forbid we cannot control the narrative even once. God forbid we can't control what's going on in someone's head. And I find it so silly, because when I think about the thoughts that run wild in my head, that I try to control, I try to curb, I can't even control what I'm thinking. What makes me confident enough to think that I can control what other people are thinking, what's going on in other people's heads? It's strange. It's a slightly entitled expectation to have. It's okay to want to be understood, but to expect universal alignment on your point of view of what you think about yourself, your character, a situation, is extremely entitled. To expect that everyone must get it all the time is unrealistic, because when we think about how many years we're going to spend on earth, how many hopefully long years we will spend on this plane, I don't think we realize that there are infinite, and I mean infinite numbers. I mean infinite numbers of idiots, like infinite numbers of shallow people on this different places, different countries. They're crawling. It's infested with shallow people. And to think that every single time someone doesn't understand you, or doesn't get you the way you're supposed to be gotten, or doesn't see you the way you're meant to be seen. To think that it causes you to rattle in discomfort. And it's okay to be uncomfortable, but the thing is not being able to sit with that discomfort without resorting to overthinking and reframing the narrative and trying to get them to see, trying to do something that's impossible, trying to do the impossible. The idea that it would incite this rattling, restless feeling of discomfort in you every single time that happens means you will never get to truly breathe or enjoy life. Because when you think about it, someone out there that you don't know about, by the way, has a perception of you that you just don't know about. The difference is now you know someone possibly misunderstands you, but there's still nothing you can do about it. And sometimes it's not even a thing of blame, truthfully. It's not a thing of coming for someone's character. I know that person is definitely an idiot if they don't get what I'm saying. Sometimes people just don't see you for you. They don't see things the way you see things. Sometimes people don't know you enough to know who you truly are. Sometimes people cannot meet you deeply enough because they haven't met themselves as deep as they should have. So, an example of that would be, for instance, misinterpreting a situation in a different way. And perhaps, for example, the other party is deflecting and they've turned the situation into a weird thing that it's then your fault, or they've turned you into this weird person in your head, whereas it's because they haven't done their own personal inner work that has to do with assessing, okay, sometimes I can be quite defensive, so I don't think that I saw this situation in the fairest way possible. I think I was quite unfair. I think how I acted was quite harsh in ascribing blame to this person, in assessing this person's character, or not having enough knowledge to see things in context, not being able to see things as deeply as you should be. Say, for instance, you lie once and then all of a sudden you're called a pathological liar for the rest of your life by that person. That person does not know that being a human comes in various shades, in various volumes, in various colors. We can't be one thing. We're not a binary, if that you get what I mean. Just lying doesn't make you a bad person. So that's what I mean. So it's a bunch of all those things. It's not necessarily that they're even bad people. Sometimes some people intentionally just miss the point because they're committed to seeing you in a specific light, or they can't confront the reality that they might be wrong about something or your character or a situation. So it's more convenient to have the upper hand. So it's about asking yourself truly, is this the same way I'm going to ruminate on these situations, reimagine the scenarios of whatever transpired that caused the misunderstanding? Is this the way I would be in my head, wondering, crafting the perfect rebuttals, thinking if only I did this, if only I used a Calibri body font instead of a Times New Roman font? Sorry, forgive that very dry joke. But thinking that if only you just repackaged yourself or contorted yourself in a different way, it would somehow make people see you fully. But that's false. Because when you think about being seen and being understood, it's actually reserved for a selected majority of people. There's an intimacy to being seen, so therefore an intimacy to being understood. If I expect someone that, say, isn't close enough to me, there's just an acquaintance perhaps, or a stranger, and I expect them to see the good in me, to see me for who I truly am, despite maybe something unkind or despite a shortcoming I may have, or even if there isn't a shortcoming, it's just a pure misunderstanding out of nowhere, out of thin air. It's, again, not realistic. It's not going to happen because they don't know me as deeply as these people know me, as deeply as these people understand me. If, for instance, something happened with me and one of my best friends and she was acting strangely, oddly, out of character, I would easily know that this does not determine who she is as a person because I know her deeply enough. Perhaps bad day. Perhaps she's going through this, that, and the third. Perhaps She just made a mistake. She was human. That's the thing. It's a bunch of these factors. It's all of these things that come with knowing someone. Knowing someone comes with understanding them and seeing them fully. And even if it is the case that even the people closer to you don't see you fully, don't understand you fully, I think that that's not necessarily also a flaw on their part or your part, because we forget that as human beings, we exist in multitude of layers that we are yet to even dissect. I'm still uncovering who I am. You're still uncovering who you are. And you're yet to even fully understand yourself. So how can other people fully understand you? Especially given that you know yourself the most. You know yourself more than anybody knows you. We forget that as human beings, there's context, there's color. We do things that don't define us. We do things that are seen differently because we're living, breathing souls. We're living, breathing vessels. We're not a thesis that should be justified. We don't come with an instruction manual. We don't come with, even if you came with an instruction manual, even if you came with a thesis or a book on your life experiences and why you are this specific person and not this person that someone has imagined you to be in their heads, I promise you that is not going to resolve anything, because two people can read the same book and come to different conclusions. I've seen it happen like right before my eyes. There was one time two people read the same book, and let's say person X loved this book. They actually understood the essence of this book and they recommended it highly, rated it highly, everything. Person B completely missed the point. I was so shocked. How could someone miss the point of something so far off? And I even expected a bit of, seeing the point a bit, but not really, like, okay, that would have to do with taste. Missed the point completely. Missed the point entirely. Hated the book. Even if they both read it top to bottom, scratch. So, again, we don't have to treat being misunderstood as a problem we must fix, because it's not internal, it's external. People can only see things the way they are committed to seeing things, or the way they are wired to seeing things, or the way they can deeply meet themselves enough to see things. Whatever the case may be, that's how people see things. And sometimes we think that the reason we're misunderstood has to do with us, is a fault on our part, is something that we did wrong. I didn't explain myself as well as I should have explained myself. I shouldn't have done that one thing that probably is the most human thing you've done. I shouldn't have spoken that way, or maybe I should have, pitched myself a bit lower. Whatever the case may be, it's easier for us to think that the fault was within us, because, as I said, we get high on control. We love control. In that way, we can control the narrative, and we can then decide on how to fix it. We can micromanage it in essence. It's something that is then not unattainable. Being understood is attainable in that sense. So you're like, oh yeah, I just need to type in a tinier font, make sure it's slanted, make sure I don't come across this way, make sure this, make sure that. And you just realize you're just performing. And the funniest part is, when you do that, you still can't control what goes on in someone's head. You can't. It's pointless. It's fickle. And it's like, we also don't understand that in our lives, we are the main character, of course. We're not the main character in the world, which is why not everyone will understand you. But in our lives, we are the main characters. So it's like, for instance, we have a book. So we have the body, and the body is us, what we know about ourselves, the knowledge we have about ourselves. But everyone else is secondary, is on the margin. So they can never truly come to see you in full form for who you truly are. You can't expect someone or people, which is everyone else, on the margins of your life, that don't live within your vessel, that haven't lived there for the past 30, 35, 25 years, to suddenly just click, to suddenly just get it, to suddenly just understand. It's like, for instance, If I go to a Nigerian restaurant and I order jollof rice, fried rice, whatever it is, I can't give you an accurate assessment on the jollof rice if I taste one grain. That grain is not enough for me to determine how good the rice tastes, how flavorful it is. It's not enough for me to give it a ranking, a review. I need to take the plate. I need to eat more. I need to finish the rice to know fully who that rice is, the essence of that rice. And oddly enough, even if I do think the rice tasted delicious, the next person in line could think that it tasted absolutely mediocre or even terrible. And then a chef that sits down to dine, that tastes that food, might actually see the food deeper than I see the food, than that other person B that hated the food might see it much deeper, might be able to detect certain flavors, certain spices, the depth of it, the aroma, far more than I could. Maybe I would give it a 7.5. The chef would give it a 9. That person would give it a 3. And so now, that rich, appetizing, flavorful meal has been misunderstood by someone or certain people as being tasteless or boring or mediocre. That plate of rice has been misunderstood. A plate of rice was misunderstood, and we think that we are less complex than a plate of rice. We wonder why we are being misunderstood, why people are not, and by misunderstood I mean not understanding us the way we believe we should be understood, not seeing us the way we know we are to be seen. We wonder why a plate of rice is nothing compared to the complex human blueprint. It's nothing. Again, it's not blame. It's this person's fault. This person's an idiot. That could be the case, but that's not the entire truth. It's just something common to the human experience, being misunderstood, not having universal alignment. No one is truly obliged to see you fully. Not everyone is obliged to see you fully. I don't for the life of me know why perhaps a stranger would bump into me on the road and glare at me and not apologize and carry on with a nasty attitude. But someone closer to that stranger, the stranger's best friend or mother, would have amazing things to say about this person, would say things like, this is the sweetest soul I know, kind, caring. He's just grieving, for instance, which is a perfectly reasonable response if you are grieving, to be angry, you get what I'm saying. But I don't see that. But of course my initial reaction would be to think this person to be rude. Oh, so rude. If I then saw that person at maybe the bar that I was headed to, I would be like, oh, that's that rude guy. Like, I already have a preconceived notion of who he is plastered in my memory, and there's nothing he can do about that, because he's not going to come up to me, a stranger, and tell me, oh, I'm grieving, oh, here's a PDF dissertation thingy on my life. And it's just exhausting trying to contort yourself in ways just so people can see all the shades of you when you yourself haven't seen all the shades of you. It's uncomfortable, it's draining. Sometimes you paint a picture and someone doesn't get the picture, but that's not because you're a bad painter or the colors didn't have enough depth, or I don't know, the paint was was not industrial grade or something. It's simply because the color blind is hanging with that person. That person's colorblind. Painting to someone that is colorblind is literally talking to a brick wall. Like, there's nothing being achieved. There's nothing that's going through. I have to I have to give props to Kendrick on that one. If you know, you know. But yeah, you can't paint a picture to someone when they're colorblind. You can't expect everyone to get it just because you get it. To get yourself, to get a situation, to get something, whatever it is, just because you get it. We come as we are. We don't come with an instruction manual, like I said. We have layers of ourselves, layers that we're yet to fully comprehend. And then we feel entitled that everyone must understand every fiber of our being. And we forget that that's an intimate act that's reserved for a specific set of people. Because at the end of the day, you're a person. You're not a thesis to be justified. You're not a machine that comes with instructions. You come as you are. Messy, unfiltered, warts and all. You just come as you are. And where I find it liberating is in the idea that you don't have to constantly then contort yourself, repackage, remodel yourself into this thing that makes you finally understandable or digestible to other people. You don't have to do that. Your character assessment doesn't have to be at other people's mercy. It reminds me of a situation, or rather, something I experienced with someone I used to be friends with. And I noticed that every single time that I would do something, or rather majority of the time, I would do something good or maybe even accidental, wherever the case may be, it would always be interpreted as something done in bad faith or something seen in a negative light. And I would always wonder, like, what is it I can do to just make this person get where I'm coming from? Like, what's wrong with them? And until one day, I realized that, wait, it's actually not personal. Because I realized that everyone next to her, everyone within her close circle or friends, family, whatnot, they were so loving. They had the best intentions. I would see the way they would come through for this person. But for some reason, she would always be dissatisfied. Have thoughts of things of the nature of people are so unreliable. They would always let you down. They're terrible people. I hate people. That's why I don't like getting to know people. Bunch of bullshit. And for me, I sat back and realized that, wait, it's either she has been traumatized by something that had happened in the past, and so is therefore seeing everything from that filtered lens, which we all do. We see things from a filtered lens. We can't unfilter someone's lens for them till they unfilter that lens. So it's either that, or it's either she is mirroring her traits in these other people. She would think that, for instance, there is no way someone could have done something purely out of good faith. So this person definitely did this to get back at me, etc. This person, there's no way that this person isn't trying to get back at me for, I don't know, breaking my cup or whatever stupid bullshit that's in this person's head. That this person holds. So, you know, a bunch of things that are just kind of indicative of who you are as opposed to who other people are. So that is how you see life, from the way you think you would navigate life, and also from your lived experiences. And there is nothing I can do about that. There's nothing you can do about that. I just put that situation to bed and just laid back. And half the time, you realize that the people that you're afraid of being misunderstood by are people you probably would not take life advice from. People you probably don't even want to be like. I don't know if I'm remembering correctly, but it was this thing from BoJack Horseman about your booze mean nothing to me. Every breath I take without you breathing over my neck, or without your validation or something, increases my self-esteem, makes me feel better in essence. Your booze mean nothing to me, given who you are. And every time I do something without the need for your validation, the validation of being understood, I feel at peace, I feel whole. And that's how I remember I felt with that person. Because I actually had to sit back and think, wait, do I really think that? Because sometimes you actually just have to take a step back and really think about who you're expecting alignment from. And I think a lot of times it's because, again, the reason why we feel unable to comprehend why people would possibly misunderstand us sometimes is because we assume that everyone else is like us. We assume that just because we saw a situation a specific way, say for instance, if it was us on the flip side of a situation or on the flip side and, judging someone's character, we wouldn't see that situation that way. We wouldn't judge them and make a final character assessment based on XYZ variable. So we think that people are on that same frequency. For example, I feel like I'm a level-headed person. So whenever I'm navigating why I'm being misunderstood, I think about it from the perspective of a reasonable person, how I would do that if I was in the opposite end of the stick. Like, if it were me, I wouldn't take this that way. So therefore, me not taking it that way means that maybe I did something wrong to make that person misunderstand. It means that I blame, and it never ends. Because if I was on the flip side, this is definitely not how I would see things. And I think we forget that there's a reason people don't see things the way we do, because being understood is actually a privilege. Being understood takes patience. It's much easier as human beings to misunderstand the situation before we understand, rather than understanding a situation. It's easier to filter things through a bias before actually seeing it in the real sense of things. It takes a lot of humbling, a lot of patience to actually sit down and fully decide, okay, I need to understand this person. Let me look at it from all perspectives, all shades, all this, all of that. It takes a lot. Literally the other day, someone gave me a dissertation to read. And when I opened this dissertation, I didn't understand a single thing. I don't even know why I asked that person to send me their dissertation, because I didn't understand anything. It was gibberish. But of course, it doesn't take away the fact that it has meaning. And someone perhaps within that department would understand that module, would understand that topic much better. But the thing is, I actually do care about reading that dissertation and understanding that dissertation. So I went online, did research. What does this word mean? What does this phenomenon mean? What does that mean? What does this mean? Pieced it together, decided to sit down again, go through the dissertation, then go again, glaze over it. And whatever I end up understanding from it might not even be, how do I say this? It might not be the core of it, the nucleus of it. Because at the end of the day, I'm already at a disadvantage for not knowing anything about that module. You get me? I studied law. I didn't study engineering. So that's already a point lost on my end, as opposed to how it would be if an engineering student revealed that. But at the same time, my dedication to wanting to understand could pay off and make me finally see that for what it truly is. My patience in understanding, the humbling and the realization that I don't know anything about this. Let me just not treat this as something that is stupid just because I don't understand it at first glance. Let me dive deeper, because a lot of things that we see, a lot of times we navigate situations or see people, it's from a shallow lens. And I'm talking about day-to-day interactions, not really people that you go deep with or family or whatnot. The general interactions during our day-to-day undertakings, shallow. As I said, someone bumping into me, fucking asshole. I don't know who that person is, but to me now he's an asshole. And that's that. Nobody's changing that. You get me? It's shallow. I haven't gone into the deep end. So I don't want my character assessment to be at anyone's mercy. And the good thing about that is that I no longer have to perform for anyone. I'm just being me. I don't have to silence certain parts of myself or even silence the fundamental aspect, nucleus of what being human is. That is to err, for instance. So I'm actually free. The best way to take control of that is by letting go, even if it sounds antithetical. That is the best way I can have control over the situation. It's not by attempting to have control over what we can't have control over. It's by sitting back and letting it be. Painful, very annoying, but yeah. And another thing I wanted to touch up on is that even the closest people that we're closest to, can misunderstand us for sure. I'm not going to sit here and act like every single time I'm misunderstood, I just take it on the chin, especially when it's someone much closer to me. If I need to express something on my mind, I would forever die on the hill that of sending paragraphs. And hear me out. I think it's because I like releasing everything in me. I don't know how to do things halfway. I'm actually quite intense, so I'll just say everything on my mind, communicate, make sure I get that across, because it's also fair to that person to let them know whatever it is you're thinking, if in a situation or whatnot. And then if that person decides to take that and not understand that, and I come to realize that it sounds like I'm repeating this paragraph over and over again, I think that's my cue to stop. When you've said everything, but it sounds like you're repeating your communication, or repeating, sort of like defending who you are continuously, repetitively, that's your cue to stop. It's okay having paragraphs, I believe. I think we just need to know when to put that period there. But the problem is we go on, commas, we keep going, commas, repeating the same thing again, then a comma, then another comma, and that's also how it reflects in our heads. We just keep going on and on. Why is the situation this way? This person's supposed to get it this way. Commas. We need to know when to put that full stop in our heads, because it's unrealistic to not be uncomfortable with being misunderstood, especially when you're misunderstood so grossly, or misunderstood by someone that is closer to you. I'm not going to act like I don't overthink things and wonder what I could have done differently, because I think that's part of learning and growing as a human being, trying to see different ways you could have done something differently or whatnot, navigated things differently. But it's about knowing when to just put that full stop, because if you keep putting the commas, your head is not quiet. Your head is always at alert. Another person misunderstands you. Oh, then it's commas. It's never just quiet. People only see things from their tinted lenses, from their tinted worldviews, and it's not something to be taken personally. People see things how they are capable of seeing things, and that's final. We come in layers that other people can't see, layers that we can't see. No one's opinion on you is an objective reality. It's simply an opinion. And the reason why we treat it as an objective reality is because we don't have a rigid enough or stable enough grounding of who we are to determine whether something is false or not. Your sense of self, your sense of identity is floating in the air. And anyone that picks it up and tells you this is who you are, this is the situation, this is what I understand, you digest it as an objective reality, as the truth, which is why you keep going back and forth and wondering, like, why is this way? This shouldn't be this way. This is not who I am. Or could this person be right? Maybe I should reframe the narrative this way. Maybe I should. Stop. Okay? Because your sense of identity, who you are, should be grounded in something more stable within yourself. You should come to terms with who you are and not wait for people to tell you who they think you are. Whew. But yeah, anyways, thank you all for listening. I hope something I said resonated with you, anything at all. And I hope you enjoyed this video in general. If you like the video, give it a like, thumbs up. If you didn't, that's fine. If you want to leave a comment, I'll be very happy. If you subscribe, that would be nice. Just do whatever you want to do, in essence. But thank you for watching. Bye.
Well, you want to clash what? I will clash you, you're just a little boy. You think you're bad, but you're just a little boy. How old are you? You're like 9. What? You can't, what? You don't even know the time. You're just, you what? You just think you're...